Hello, this is Rachel from Kalkine Studios in Sydney and you're watching the early trades. The S&P ASX 200 opened 0.1% higher in a muted gain led by healthcare, while energy shares pared recent gains to fall 1.8%. Healthcare shares were dragged 2.1% higher by CSL. That's the largest in the blue chip index, which traded 2.4% higher. The Euro Stoxx 600 benchmark of blue chips fell 1.1% and US shares declined 2.7% as the oil price inched higher as US officials gauged whether to ban Russian crude imports. European bank shares dropped 4.1% while energy shares jumped 4.3% on the climbing oil price. US energy shares gained 0.9% while tech shares tumbled. Let's take a look at some newsmakers from today now. The ANZ-Roy Morgan Weekly Consumer Confidence Index edged 0.9% higher last week but remains far below its long-term average as adverse weather ravages the northeast of the country. The increase brought the index to 100.1 points below the long-term average, going back 3 decades of 112.4 points. Higher commodity prices will increase inflation in New Zealand in the second quarter to 7.4%, forcing the country's central bank into more aggressive rate hikes. The crisis in Ukraine has pushed up the price of commodities across the board, including global dairy trade prices, which have touched a record high, according to ANZ. Wheat prices jumped yesterday, with US wheat prices in particular surging as businesses and investors seek out immediate supply of the grain, given expectations of limited supply from Russia and Ukraine. US wheat futures for May 2022 contracts touched a record high in nominal terms, while prices for contracts that mature later in the year showed less intense gains. The national average price of fuel in the US set a new record yesterday, touching $4.10 a gallon, and that's to eclipse the previous peak set in 2008 by 1 cent. Higher fuel prices will maintain the high levels of inflation the US has faced in recent months, which is running at 7% on a year-on-year basis. That's a level not seen since the 1980s. LPL Financial, they're an independent broker-dealer in the US, has lowered its 2022 growth forecast for the American economy, given the rising geopolitical uncertainty, the potential for the Federal Reserve to tighten quickly, and the lingering impacts of the Omicron variant of coronavirus. The company has dropped its growth forecast to 3.7% for the calendar year from a range of 4 to 4.5%, which was initially unveiled in November. Nickel prices have skyrocketed in the last few days as traders, brokers and businesses scramble to secure supply, given Russia's role as a producer of the metal. Russia produces around 7% of the world's nickel, which is a vital ingredient for stainless steel and electric batteries. We'll all keep our eyes on the price of nickel. Well, that's all for now for the early trade. Stay tuned to Kalkine TV. We've got many more shows lined up for you, sharing live updates across the economy, markets and sectors. This is Rachel signing off for now.